Today we're diving deep into the life of one of the most skilled MCs to ever touch the mic, Kurupt Young Gotti. I'll take you through his journey from his childhood in Philly to becoming the vice president of Death Row Records, uncovering the creation of his iconic duo, the Dogg Pound with Daz Dillinger, his friendship with Snoop Dogg, and how Tupac gave him his infamous alias. I'll also explore the impact he had on the culture, shaping artists like Eminem and Kendrick Lamar, and of course break down how he eventually squashed his infamous beef with DMX. Ricardo Brown, known as Kurupt, was born in 1972. He grew up in Germantown, Philadelphia, with his mother, but spent every summer on the West Coast with his father in Compton. He was introduced to hip-hop at the age of 6 by his older cousin Skippy G, who was rapping and breakdancing. Just 2 years later, he followed that same path. By the age of 8, he was already writing his first rhymes. He started getting into rap battles at school, never turning one down. That's where he really crafted his freestyle skills. It came natural to him, to the point where he eventually stopped writing his rhymes altogether. Around that time, he started rapping under the name Kid, short for King and Destruction, later changing it to K-Rock. Growing up, he was a big fan of Rakim. At 16, after crashing his mom's car, he was sent to live with his dad in California, who had moved to Hawthorne. He had to adapt quickly to the local street code, and he learned it the hard way. Not long after arriving from Philly, he was walking down the street wearing a fresh blue pair of Nikes when a 13-year-old kid rolled up on a bike and told him to take his shoes off. Kurupt wasn't having it and told him to go back to school. The kid answered coldly, saying he'd be back strapped. As soon as the kid rode off on his bike like Debo in Friday, he ran back home. His instincts were probably right, because not long after, that same kid was sent to jail for murder. At the age of 18, his dad kicked him out after he told him he wanted to become a rapper. With nowhere else to go, he moved in with his homie Broomy on Crenshaw. That's when he started getting involved in street life and joined the Rolling 60s. But as he recalls, most of the OGs from his neighborhood, like Broomy, L-Dog, Kenny Mac, and Big U, saw his talent early and told him to focus on music, not the streets. They kinda started managing him, taking him to cyphers and clubs all around Los Angeles, where he became known for winning almost all his rap battles. His reputation began to spread fast. Under the advice of his homeboy Mental, he changed his name from K-Rock to Kurupt. Around that same time, he crossed paths with Snoop Dogg after the two faced off in a legendary rap battle in the parking lot of the Roxy, set up by Kurupt's homegirl Diamond. As told in Snoop's episode, the battle ended in a tie, but the two became friends right after. At the time, neither of them had a record deal, but both were already known in the underground as the best freestylers in Southern California. They made a pact. Whoever made it first had to call the other. But in between, in 1991, Kurupt made his first official appearance on record, featuring on 3 tracks of the SOS Band's album, a successful funk group of the 80s. By the end of the year, as covered in the N.W.A. animated DOCUSERIES, Dr. Dre had just left N.W.A. and was looking for artists for his new label, Death Row Records. That's when he signed Snoop Dogg. Not long after, Death Row organized a picnic in the park to celebrate the launch of the label and BJ's birthday, one of the founding members. Kurupt's homegirl Diamond happened to be there and ran into Snoop. They immediately recognized each other, and Snoop asked her to call Kurupt. Knowing Dre was looking for new talent, she called him right away and even managed to get Dre on the phone when Kurupt didn't believe her. Kurupt pulled up with his homie Broomy. After spending some time at the picnic for BJ's birthday, they all headed to Dre's house. That's where Suge put Kurupt on the spot, announcing to everyone that there was someone there who wanted to be on death row. He told Kurupt to rap a birthday verse for BJ, warning him that if it was whack, they'd throw him in the pool, insinuating they wouldn't let him out before the water turned red. But Kurupt nailed it and landed his deal. After that, the word around death row was simple. If you could beat Kurupt in a rap battle, you get signed. Nobody ever did. Hundreds tried. What really convinced Dr. Dre and Suge Knight, though, was Kurupt's demo tape. Not long after, Warren G recorded it at Dre's house. They did 5 songs together, and as Kurupt recalls, they were the first solo tracks he'd ever recorded. When Dre heard it, he knew Kurupt had to be featured on his debut album. This was during the LA riots in May 1992. Kurupt remembers watching everything unfold on Dre's TV with Warren G and the DOC before they decided to drive out. On the way, Warren G jumped into a store and came back out with a box full of 40 ounces. Kurupt's first real moment on the Chronic started with the beat to Stranded on Death Row, later titled after the opening line of his verse. Dre handed it to him and told him to take it home and write to it. When Kurupt came back with the verse, Dre loved it. Based on that verse, he told everyone featured on the track to shout out their cell block at the end. The Chronic dropped in December 1992 and introduced Kurupt to the world. It went on to sell more than 7 million copies worldwide. For Kurupt, it didn't feel real yet. He remembers driving one day and hearing his verse playing from the car next to him. He started smiling at the driver, who looked back and said, "What you looking at, blood?" At the time, there were no music videos out yet. Nobody really knew his face, but that was about to change. During the recording of The Chronic, he started bonding with Daz Dillinger, Snoop's little cousin. That's when they decided to form their infamous duo, the Dogg Pound, not to be confused with DPGC, which was the name of their crew, as covered in Snoop's episode. The Dogg Pound was originally the nickname given to Snoop Dogg's one-bedroom apartment, where most of the clique was staying at the time. Not long after, Warren G taught Daz how to produce. The Dogg Pound wanted to start working on their own material, but studio time was usually reserved for Dre or Snoop. So instead, Daz and Kurupt got into the habit of waking up around 3 in the morning, driving to Solar Records, taking the elevator up to the death row floor, and Daz would pick the studio lock so they could record all night. The first time the Dogg Pound appeared on a track as a group was on the Poetic Justice soundtrack. That moment also marked the first time Tupac and Snoop met during the movie's rap party in 1993, as covered in Laylaw's episode. After that, they were heavily featured on Snoop's debut album Doggy Style, released in November 1993. The album became one of hip-hop's most anticipated releases ever, debuting at #1 on the Billboard chart, selling nearly 1 million copies in its first week, and eventually moving an estimated 11 million copies worldwide. During the recording of Doggy Style, Kurupt remembers how Snoop became like a teacher to him. Inspired by what the DOC had previously done for Snoop, he taught Kurupt how to structure a verse and the importance of rapping about things people could relate to. Up until then, Kurupt had mostly been a raw freestyler. And while I'm talking about the DOC, his episode is set to drop in the coming weeks. I also wanted to announce a new rhythm, with weekly episodes dropping every Friday, so make sure to follow us and hit the bell. After contributing to several Death Row releases, it was finally time for the Dogg Pound to release their own debut album. Dog Food dropped in 1995, debuting at #1 on the Billboard 200 and going double platinum the following year. Originally, the album's lead single, New York, New York, was meant to be a tribute to hip-hop's Mecca. The plan was to invite Nas and other East Coast MCs to appear in the video. But as tensions between the East Coast and West Coast were just starting to rise, things didn't go as planned. When it came time to shoot the video in New York, things escalated quickly. The trailer was shot at after Biggie called Funkmaster Flex live on air and revealed the location of the video shoot in Brooklyn, encouraging locals to shut it down. Within minutes, shots were fired. Thankfully, nobody was hurt. After that, the concept of the video completely changed. What was supposed to be a tribute to New York turned into visuals of Snoop Dogg and the Dogg Pound tearing down buildings across the city. But if you listen closely to the lyrics, the song itself wasn't a diss, only the music video was. That same year, Suge Knight bailed Tupac out of jail and signed him on death row. They'd all known each other since meeting during Poetic Justice, so everyone at the label immediately started working on Tupac's album. Watching Tupac work in the studio completely changed Kurupt's perspective. Up until then, he could spend an entire day just to record one verse. Pac started coaching him, giving him tips and inviting him into his sessions. When he witnessed Pac record 5 songs in a single day, something clicked. He didn't even know that was possible, and as he later revealed in interviews, it changed his work ethic to this day. It was also during this time that Tupac introduced him to Hennessy, a bad habit that became part of his daily life for years. Now, if you're wondering where Kurupt's infamous alias came from, it was after Tupac adopted the name Machiavelli and began renaming the members of the Outlaws. Liking the idea, he asked Pac to find one for him, and that's when he became Young Gotti. But not long after, Dr. Dre left and Tupac was killed in '96. Kurupt decided it was time to part ways with Death Row Records the following year, becoming the second core member to leave after Dre. He sold his house, shut down his kennel where he'd been raising 21 dogs, and went back to Philly, unsure how he'd be received with the East Coast-West Coast tension still active. Around that time, he started dating Foxy Brown, who stayed by his side through the transition. He launched his own label, Entra, and released his solo debut, Corruption, in '98, followed by The Streets Is a Mother in '99. That second album featured Calling Out Names, the diss record that sparked his beef with DMX, after rumors surfaced involving his then-fiancée, Foxy Brown, with him. DMX responded with Party Up. At the time, most fans heard a club record, but the verses carried something darker once the context became clear. Years later, the two squashed the beef after running into each other at an airport. They talked so long at the bar they both missed their flights and walked away as friends. With Death Row still owning the Dogg Pound name, Kurupt and Daz Dillinger continued as DPG, releasing Dillinger and Young Gotti in 2001, followed by Kurupt's Space Boogie, Smoke Odyssey. His solo work during this era heavily featured the DPGC, Dr. Dre, Exhibit, and even MC Ren. In 2001, when Suge Knight was released from jail, he offered Kurupt the vice president role at Death Row. Kurupt accepted, shifting his focus from rapping to mentoring new artists like Spider Lock, Crooked I, and Eastwood. But reconnecting with Suge caused friction with Daz and Snoop Dogg, and they began feuding. By 2005, after a West Coast Unity event hosted by Uncle Snoop, Kurupt and Daz reconciled and officially reunited the Dogg Pound, releasing their third album as a duo in November that same year. Until then, and still to this day in 2026, he's maintained good relationships with all his peers, staying on good terms with everyone, continues to release music on and off, has stepped into acting, and even tried his hand at producing. He's widely regarded as one of hip-hop's most influential rappers, respected across generations and cited by artists like Biggie, Eminem, and Kendrick Lamar as one of their favorite MCs. I was really saddened to hear the news 3 days ago that he'd been dealing with some health issues over the past few weeks. His brother Roscoe shared on social media that he's now feeling better and back home, so please go send a speedy recovery to the one and only Kurupt Young Gotti. Alright fam, that wraps up today's episode. Thanks so much for tuning in. And if you enjoyed it, make sure to like the video and subscribe. And don't forget to hit the notification bell as a brand new episode comes out every Friday. In case you're just tuning in, I'm specialized in animated documentaries, digging up rare insights and untold backstories about your favorite old school rappers. And if you're a fan of N.W.A, make sure to check out my docuseries exploring the origins of the world's most dangerous group, including the stories of Crazy D, the forgotten Mexican member, and of Laylaw, their secret affiliate. For short animated stories and the latest old school hip hop news, make sure to follow us on Instagram, just like your favorite rappers already did. If you don't know, we're pretty active on here and are publishing short animated interview clips in collaboration with major hip hop outlets in the game. For those who want to show a little support, as these documentaries take a ton of time, research, and effort to put together, YouTube thanks and memberships are now available. Big love to everyone who stuck around till now. Peace out and see you next Friday.